The headlines. The first one being Lok Sabha to take up the motion to remove the High Court judge. How many of you did the homework that I was asking you to do? How about many days ago, I gave the homework of Polity, where I asked you to go through the Lakshmikant textbook, Judges Inquiry Act, the process of impeachment or removal of judge, High Court judge. How many of them should propose from Lok Sabha? What is the process? How will the process kick in? Did you study all that? No? Okay. Take this as a homework for today. Because it's going to happen, so you might as well try to learn polity through practical experience. Not only this, even there is another news about Election Commission of India appointing officers for the election of Vice President. Okay. Election Commission of India has the responsibility to elect MPs as well as President, Vice President. What is the act? The Election of President and Vice President Act. There is an act. Under that there is section 6, where the officers responsible for this election are appointed by the Election Commission of India through that act. And as a part of this process, the election procedure kicks in. There is this article from the Indian Express. Go through that. It's an opportunity for you to get back to the basics of the election of the Vice President. 2 homeworks. One is the Judges Inquiry Act, how the procedure kicks in. Second one is about the election procedure for the Vice President. These 2 homeworks, if you do it, like these are the basics. If you go back to your Lakshmikant and have a look at them, it will get cemented in your thought process. So please take care of this. Okay? Moving on. Yeah, another opportunity for you to revise your basics. 185 Pakistan refugees gets Indian citizenship under the Citizenship Amendment Act. Okay. Now, in your Lakshmikant chapter, citizenship chapter, you have Article 5 to 11. Under that, when you are reading this, what is the role of Article 9? What is Article 9? Parliament by law can make procedures which are relevant for giving citizenship. What is Article 11? Okay, revise this and then read this article. Read the Citizenship Amendment Act and how these people got the citizenship. And this is important because there is a whole debate around how citizenship is given. In the context of the Bihar Special Intensive Revision, the whole idea of being a part of the electorate is a proof of citizenship. How do you think you can give that citizenship? Proof. There are some documents established. Apart from that, there is one more method in which the government is giving citizenship. So combine both those news articles, read Article 5 to 11, and then try to systematize your thought on how citizenship can be given to people. How is it different from the conception in US? We spoke about how the approach is different in US and India. Okay? The concept of nationality as a prerequisite for getting elected as the head of the state. Is it there in India? Is it not there in India? What is the common point between, if any, common point between US and India? What is the point of divergence? These are the basics that you need to study. Okay? Go back and check. Have a look at this. Supreme Court allows Kerala to withdraw 2 pleas against its governor. On April 8th, there was this Supreme Court judgment about the timelines that are supposed to be adhered to by the governors when they withhold their judgments or when they are giving them for president reference. So, in this context, Kerala government filed a petition in the courts with respect to their governor who is withholding some bills. What is the procedural aspect of this entire issue? And here, what is the role of Solicitor General? I want you to read the Polity Lakshmikant chapter on Solicitor General and what is his role. After you read that, read this news. Okay? You will be able to remember things better with a context like this. 3 homeworks now. 4 actually. Okay? Please go back and check. What are the homeworks again? Judges Inquiry Act, the election of the Vice President and President, then what else? Citizenship, Article 5 to 11, Solicitor General and the role of Solicitor General. Okay, take a look at this. Now, Kargil, Pahalgam and a revamp of the security strategy. This article I've posted already on the Telegram channel. Please open that once. Please open your Telegram channels. The Hindu highlights. Take a look at the highlights first. Here you will see that we are talking about this entire issue of national security architecture through the lens of a doctrinal shift. The way the government has been approaching this entire issue of national security architecture is mostly reactive. We have discussed these points time and again in our previous articles as well. In the present context, the Operation Sindoor was also a retaliative attack which showcased some sort of gaps in our national security architecture. And this is not the first time. Today is the anniversary of Kargil War. We are seeing a comparison between how Kargil has been a tactical point which showcased a lot of lapses in our security architecture. And Kargil acted as a lesson for Indian government to revive the talks on how we have to restructure our security architecture, but in the domain of conventional warfare, not in the domain of asymmetric warfare. Meaning, asymmetric warfare refers to a predominant role of the non-state actors. Let's say, for example, you have terrorists, you have organized crime peddlers who are fueling this terror through terror financing channel. And when states like, say for example, the allegation that Indian government has, which has time and again proven to be right, is that there is a support from the state of Pakistan towards its the non-state actors. Like for example, it is housing a lot of non-state actors, and India is not the only one who claimed this. When Osama bin Laden was killed, where was he killed? It's in Pakistan. So the biggest allegation against Pakistan after the 9/11 attacks has been that it is housing a lot of terrorists who are propelled by an agenda, radical agenda, to disturb the sovereignty of countries. And if we allow that to happen, it's an attack against our sovereignty. What did Kargil push us towards? Now, after the surgical strikes, Uri attack and the Balakot attacks, how did we retaliate? The doctrine of proactive retaliation. What are the structural reforms? What new institutions came into the picture after the Kargil war, after the 26/11 attack, and after the Operation Sindoor? These three levels, the institutional changes, is what you need to focus on and take away from this article. In the conventional warfare, in the Kargil setup, a set of reforms came up. Those reforms were mostly about how we have to improve our intelligence, border infrastructure, the role of border roads organization, how we have to improve our surveillance and patrolling on the borders. In this context, you have had many committees, or two major committees I would rather say. First one is the Shekatkar committee, and the second one is the Madhukar committee, Madhukar Gupta or Madhukar committee as it's commonly called. Shekatkar committee has a set of 100 recommendations on how we can reframe our security architecture. Okay. And in the context of this Uri attack, this Madhukar Gupta committee became even more prominent with the recommendations on how technology and topography should be understood to patrol our borders better. Both these committees play a very pivotal role in our understanding of how our dealing with our neighboring countries should be like. In the aftermath of Kargil, lot of institutions came into existence, and you will see them in this article. For example, Defense Intelligence Agency, NTRO, National Technical Research Organization, which is a coordination between the pre-existing intelligence agencies like Intelligence Bureau, RAW, Research and Analysis Wing. Then you had this National Security Council Secretariat, Intelligence Committee, and then Joint Intelligence Committee, and then you have the National Security Advisor post, which became a sort of a permanent fixture in the Prime Minister's office. Now here is the homework that you can do. There are so many organizations, right? DIA, NTRO, IB and RAW, Joint Intelligence Committee, National Security Council Secretariat. What else is there? NSA, National Security Advisor. You have these organizations that came up right after 1999 Kargil War. This is most likely a answer or a sort of a retaliation against the terror attacks that we've had, or the conventional warfare attacks. Even during those Kargil era also, the role of these non-state actors is very high. They were the ones who planned a lot of infiltration and helped the army. And the fact that India was not able to have that sort of an intelligence, despite what happened in 1990, where Kashmir Valley was the hotbed for extremism, which led to a mass exodus of Kashmiris from that region into various parts of this country. These organizations have a very specific role. Each of these organizations play a different role. The homework that I want you to do is go to the respective websites or do some research actively to find out how each of this, for example, Defense Intelligence Agency and NTRO. All of them are about intelligence. What is the jurisdiction of these organizations? Where do they work? In what domains do they work? What sort of intelligence will be gathered by DIA that maybe RAW or IB cannot gather? What is the role of NTRO in this? Is there a duplication of effort? Think of all of this. So this is all land-based. We are talking about 1999, 2016, and henceforth in the new hybrid warfare, we are looking at Operation Sindoor, which is giving us new insights into how we have to build our hybrid warfare architecture. This is the conventional part. Sorry, 1999. Kargil Review Committee is the inflection point where we had to take a relook at our architecture. In 2016, we are discussing about surgical strikes. This is marking a shift in our approach. But when it comes to 2025, Operation Sindoor, we were using hybrid, both conventional as well as new type of warfare against asymmetric warfare. Okay? We are dealing with the government as well as the non-state actors in a single go, and yet there are some lapses that we have to relook at. What are those lapses, etc. Over a period of time, if more and more points come up, we can add them to our articles, our notes. Okay? This is how I want you to approach this whole thing of security architecture. Where will you find this relevance? The whole point of this article is not just relevant for international relations or internal security. There is one point: achievements of Indians. In GS3, achievements of Indians in science and technology, indigenization of technology, which means we are talking about the theme of Atmanirbharta. See, we think that Atmanirbharta is a new theme with respect to science and technology, but it has been always there in our syllabus. So, indigenization of defense is one example, where the recommendations and the lessons that we have learned through these incidents and the inspiration behind indigenization, the doctrinal shift, how it was there before and how it is now, all of this should be factored in to give a final answer of what is it that we will take away from this entire episode. Okay, that is how I want you to read this article. Next up, the scientist who made mangroves a buzzword. This is about the role of MS Swaminathan. Today is World Mangrove Day. Mangrove is a very important theme in UPSC. Time and again, in the mains level, even in prelims, mangrove as a concept has been repeated time and again. And Mr. Swaminathan is a legendary scientist, both in popular imagination as well as the contributions he made. He recently passed away. So, we can expect a question on these lines, either this year or next year: role of scientists or achievements of Indians. This question can come up. So, I've posted in today's article about an old article as well. The role of Bengal for men in shaping up the thought process of Mr. Swaminathan. You can use that in your essay as well as ethics. Anyway, coming back. There are two things that you have to take away from this article. One is obviously the role of Mr. Swaminathan. And two, it's about the role of mangroves in conservation. Until the 1980s, mangroves were not taken seriously, their role was ignored, and the perception was that they're just wasteland, which is used by fishing, fishermen, or maybe the local population used it for gathering some kind of a forest produce kind of a thing, maybe as a cheap fuel source for the light. But mostly its importance as a salt-tolerant species, and its role in ecological conservation, its role in ensuring that soil erosion doesn't happen in the coastal areas, was first recognized by Mr. Swaminathan through his research in this conference in Okinawa, Japan. Let's note down this, because these kind of information is not normal. International Society for Mangrove Ecosystem was established in 1990 in Okinawa, Japan, where Mr. Swaminathan served as the founding president and worked there till 1993. And it is during this period you will see how mangrove's role was, propagated. It produced a World Mangrove Atlas, and this organization has been instrumental in spreading the awareness about mangrove. So these points will, contribute to the role of Mr. Swaminathan's environmental scientist angle. It's not just that. So obvious contribution has been to the Green Revolution part, to the calculation of MSP, agricultural economics. This is the environmental contribution of the scientist. Here, we are also talking about a very important fishbone canal method, which can be asked in your prelims exam somewhere down the line. So please remember this. Whenever you're talking about mangroves, this fishbone canal method is very, very important. But in our standard textbooks or materials, this might not be highlighted. The mistake that most aspirants can do with respect to this point is that we can think it is a fishing technique. Okay? So please be careful about this. Also, if you have to talk about the institutional part of how this conservation happened and the technology part, I want you to read this couple of paragraphs in this article. This and this. Okay? It is not a fuel source, but local communities used it. They, in some of the tribal hamlets, in, let's say for example, they used to cut it, dry it, and then use it. And it was not an efficient source. And the use of a fuel source is very limited to small communities, not everywhere. Yeah, this question. This is a political, news article. But let's use this to open up a debate. The average age of MPs. Firstly, if you take a look at the average age of our legislators, most of them are well above 50, 60. Now, in a country where the average age of our demography is somewhere around 27, do you think they will reflect the aspirations of a young nation? What is the role of youth in politics? What should be the role of youth in politics? It's not just about economic formulations. It's not about only it's more. It begins with participation. It begins with a dialogue. We need jobs, of course. We need a better future, and this has always been the demand. But the idea behind that word "better" keeps on evolving from time to time. What was considered to be better in 1947 today can be regressive. It's now so basic that nobody will think that this will not be absent. Let's say, for example, electricity access in a city. It's so common that people will no longer consider it an aspiration. Yes, it's true that there are some villages in this country where you still have that electricity problem. But is it a norm or an abnormality? It's not a norm. So the prerequisite for growth in this country is electoral practices, electoral politics, participatory democracy. And if a significant section of this country, where 60% of them are in that age group, they get disconnected from the whole idea of politics, how are we going to be governed? What is the role of youth in politics? How should the idea of mentoring get institutionalized even in politics? Because the seniors should pass on the wisdom to the juniors. There's a beautiful example in Poland where if you want to become a legislator at a national level, you will have to start at the local level and you get promoted, just like how in your career you see a gradual evolution of your based on your performance. That's not the case in India. Somehow that needs to change. How do we change it? That's something that is debatable. And read this news in that context. Ignore the political part. Yesterday the number was 61, today the number is 66. 5 more out. 5 lakh people. Right. This, okay. J&K delimitation was done on the basis of 2011 census. So what is delimitation? First thing, this is the 5th homework from Polity angle. What is delimitation? How delimitation happens? On the basis of which population, like which census? What will happen after the 2026 census? What is its impact on women reservation? This article talks about how Supreme Court thought that it was irrelevant to compare Jammu and Kashmir and other states. Okay, this whole issue. So that's it for the day. We'll meet again tomorrow. Thank you.